when you choose to be different, that's what makes you an individual. That's what makes you more than just another face in the crowd. When you think differently than most of the people around you, but you go a step further and you take those thoughts and put them into action, changing your behavior, then you really are standing out from the rest of the crowd. And these are challenges that many of us have faced in transitioning to a vegan diet. But that being said, guys, what happens when someone like you tries to stand out and be different and strike your own path? Do other people around you give you labels to try to make you think and act more like them? Or do they support you in your decisions based on what your goals and purpose is in this life? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Do you think the vegan community has a problem with groupthink? Groupthink. Because I do. And I'll be the first one to say it. I haven't seen anybody else talk about this, so that's why I'm breaking the ice. Because I've kind of made a habit of showing you guys things you may not want to see. But let's be real for a moment, guys. We need to think about how vegans deal with other people who think differently than we do. And I'm not even going to start with how we address non-vegans. I want to start with within the vegan community. There is a sort of thought policing that goes around where everyone has to think the same way about certain things. Every single little issue, whether it's honey or leather or all of these things, there's a vegan answer, a proper vegan answer. And I'll link to the bite-sized vegan video where you can get all the details, and then you'll have to choose for yourself to think like the rest of us. Okay, so that's kind of how I see it, and it's permeating within our community. And the question is, how do we treat people who think differently or behave differently within our community? Well, we saw that just this past week with John Venus and the egg thing. All right, that was maybe like 2 weeks ago now, but I'm catching up on this topic because here's what I think, guys. I think that I'm so much different than the typical vegan cookie cutter person guy that I'm one of the few people who's capable of speaking on it without risking hurting anybody's feelings, for the best way to say it. I don't think that this is going to break anybody's attention. And the true fans are going to want to see this because I'm the one who cuts it straight, and I really don't have anything to lose here, guys. I mean, this is a community that I want to share with you guys, and I enjoy participating in it, but we're going to see how in the future, how people respond to me saying things and thinking things that are different than the rest of everybody else in the community. So to start off with, I think we saw this big time with the thought policing when it came to Nina and Randa and the honey issue. Now, they didn't even know they had honey in like some lip gloss or some sort of cosmetic product. I don't remember what it was. And they got crucified within the vegan community. That's the way I remember the story, is that they didn't know that there was honey in something. They wouldn't have chose to buy it if there was honey in it, but they promoted the product not realizing it, and they got crucified within the vegan community. Okay, that's how we're going to handle that. We saw that happen. I mean, it's just history now. It's already happened. We can't go back and undo that. Then we saw John Venus come out and say that he ate a dozen eggs or whatever it was. And we saw people try to label him as a fake vegan. Okay? So does that build the community up, or does that hurt the community and make people who might be sitting outside of the community with an interest of looking in and participating, does that make them want to join? I want you to think about that. Because I was at the book signing for my friend's plant-based cookbook, and the book that he did is not necessarily catered specifically to vegans. It's really for beginners. And what I saw there was I saw a lot of people who were 85, 90% plant-based, and they were trying to learn how to incorporate this lifestyle into their own lifestyle. So they're saying, hey, we still have some products, some animal products on the table, and we're working towards getting fully plant-based, and that's why we're here. Could you imagine if like the commenters were literally not behind their keyboard, but literally in that room at that book signing, and they were like, you're not 100% vegan? Do you know that means that you still support the needless slaughter and deaths of animals? Those people would probably have walked out of there like, whoa, man, maybe this isn't the right direction for us. Okay, so the way that we think within the vegan community, or the way that you think about veganism in general, may not be necessarily uniform across everybody within this community. And that's what I'm trying to put out here today, partly because I did a podcast just a couple days ago, and the topic of hunting came up. And I realized it's been a while since I've thought about this. There may be some things about hunting and the implications of it that I don't fully understand. But that being said, I grew up around hunting. Okay, guys? I grew up in a rural part of Virginia. And let me just pause for a moment and say that one of my goals for 2020 is to move forward and do a better job of telling some of my backstory and why I chose the vegan lifestyle, why I came with the name Red Pill Vegan, and really give you guys a little bit more history in terms of all of what I've been through, because I've done some live streams about how I got really sick on the keto diet and it almost cost me my life. I need to do a better job of sharing some more of that with you guys and reaching out to people in the community who understand and can relate. All right, so that being said, guys, I grew up in Central Virginia, and I grew up around hunting, rural country boys. Hunting was a big part of what I was around in high school, and I saw a lot of that. Now, if we stop for a second and think about hunting, or just think about killing animals in general, you might not like the sound of this, but killing animals is partly a ritual. It's a ritual. It is a spiritual and physical connection with the animal and with the earth. And that's why there's things like religious associations with killing animals, like kosher and halal and all that stuff. It's a very spiritual experience. I'm not going to get into all of what that means because I don't really know, and I'd be open to hear y'all's interpretation of it. But here's the thing about that. So on the podcast, I'm talking to a guy who is a hunter, and we talked a little bit about hunting, and I told him, I said, look, as a vegan, I'm not going to support hunting. So I'm not going hunting. I'm not telling you to go hunting. But in the grand scheme of things, we need to recognize that right now, there are still, the majority of people are going to eat animal products. They're going to continue doing that. And so, in the grand scheme of people who eat animal products, hunting is really not the problem that we face in terms of both animal rights and people's health. People aren't dying in America of strokes and heart attacks predominantly because they're eating venison. Like, that's not the biggest problem. And so, believe it or not, this is where everybody on the channel is going to hit the unsubscribe button. I have a lot more respect for somebody who goes out into the woods and does bow hunting. I'm not even talking about rifles or shotgun hunting or black powder season, muzzle loaders, none of that. I'm talking about bow hunting. I have a tremendously higher amount of respect for someone who chooses to go out and hunt with a bow and arrow and kill an animal and then dress it, break it down, skin it, we're talking the whole nine. Put it in the bags and stick it in the freezer. All the stuff that most vegans would acknowledge that they're against that. Well, me personally, I think in the scheme of meat eating, it's still taking an animal's life. So I'm not trying to justify it. But in the scheme of it, I have a lot more respect for the person who owns the decision fully from start to finish. Not just like that Mark Zuckerberg type stuff where he slit a goat's throat on some guy's farm and then he felt like he was more connected to the animal. I'm talking about from start to finish, you handle that entire process yourself and then put that meat on your family's table, like kind of like the Joe Rogan type thing. I'm going to have more respect for you than the guy who goes to Costco and gets a bucket of fried chicken or whatever, a steak or whatever. You don't have to like that. You don't have to like that I have a different level of respect for different meat eaters. But I don't think like every vegan in the vegan community. So look, you can see, guys, this is a one-take video that I'm just rattling straight to y'all because I'm not afraid of who I am. And I'm not afraid of what makes me different because at the end of the day, the people who recognize what makes a person individual is what brings their strength and brings the value to the table that separates them from all the other faces in the crowd. Those are the kind of people that I want on my channel. Now, let me put it to you this way, guys. If you're very against hunting in all forms, I want to hear about it. And I want to hear why I should maybe change my stance. Now, again, I'm not pro-hunting. I'm just saying I'm not going to become an anti-hunting activist. Boundaries are important. And I have to draw the boundaries of where my activism is going to spread. And so that's just, I can only be active in so many circles and in so many specific topics at once. I'm not a philosopher, guys. I'm a person who has an ability to reach people on specific topics that I find important to me. So when something comes up that I'm not the most versed in, yeah, I may have an off-the-cuff reaction to it in a way that you don't like or you don't approve of. But at the end of the day, guys, I'm not telling you to go hunting. I'm not saying that I'm going to go hunting. I still eat no animal products. So does that make me a fake vegan if I have more respect for someone who wants to see the process through start to finish in the wild? And they didn't even use a gun, which we're not even going to get into that as like a separate aspect of hunting. But this is not a situation where people are just mowing down deer with machine guns. We're talking about man, elements, start to finish, the entire ritual. I have more respect for someone who wants to do that. Do I think it's an ethical decision? No, because I know that you can thrive on a plant-based diet. And I'm choosing to live that way. But for people who want to choose to eat meat, I think hunting is one of those choices that brings a different level of respect than even going and buying grass-fed beef or going to a farmer's market or any of that. Hunting is a different process, guys. It's part of a ritual that has existed forever. And so you can call that an appeal to nature fallacy or whatever, but I think it deserves a little more respect in terms of just what it is versus what the choices on the table are that many people are making. So this is probably starting to run into a long video. Maybe I need to refine some of my thinking on this, and I'm willing to grow and share that experience with you guys. But this is what we're going to see. We're going to see what the reaction is to this. Are people going to call me a fake vegan and cancel me from the vegan community? That's really what I'm kind of curious about, because are we interested in seeing people grow and come to develop their choices in terms of understanding the ethics of their choices? Or are we going to label people who think differently than us as some sort of an outsider or not validated or not valued within our community? And that's a challenge that our community is going to have to face. And if I have to be the voice that makes that challenge more apparent, then I will do it. And I'll do it uncensored, without cutting away or having a fake conversation. I'll have this conversation in front of a camera with myself, and if nobody wants to listen, so be it. But at least I shared something that was different and broke out of the norms of the way that everybody else thinks. So maybe I could make this more clear and concise, but I think if I'm going to be authentic, it would be best to just upload this in its entirety. All right, y'all. So that's going to be the video for today in terms of how people within the vegan community handle other people within the vegan community thinking differently than they do. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. All right, y'all know what time it is. Red Pill Vegan. Next.